Welcome back to Andersen Acres. Today we're going to tackle a serious topic that every duck keeper, hobby farmer, or poultry enthusiast should know about. Avian cholera, also called fowl cholera. It's one of those diseases that can rip through a flock suddenly without much warning, and knowing the signs and prevention steps can make all the difference. Now before we dive in, just remember, this isn't the kind of topic that's all sunshine and fluffy ducklings. It's heavy, but it's important. If you raise ducks, geese, or chickens, you'll want to know how to spot it and what you can do to protect your flock. Now, avian cholera is a bacterial disease, okay? Bacteria, not a virus, it's bacterial. Unlike some illnesses that creep in slowly, this one is notorious for spreading through a flock in what can feel like an explosive fashion, okay? Just boom, happens. One day your ducks look perfectly fine, the next you are dealing with sudden deaths and birds in distress. It's been known to affect wild birds too, which means it can move from migrating populations right into your own backyard flock. That's one of the reasons outbreaks tend to appear quickly and can be so devastating. So what should you watch for? Well, key symptoms include diarrhea. I know it's hard to tell with ducks, but watery droppings that don't look normal or that look less normal than usual. Also look for some discharge from the mouth. This can sometimes look like mucus or foamy liquid. Loss of appetite. Birds can stop eating, which is always a red flag in ducks. Ducks love to eat. Clearly, they're on their way to eat something. They love to eat. So if your ducks aren't eating, that's a problem. Also check for labored breathing. You might hear wheezing or gasping, or you'll just see ducks struggling for breath. Obviously, they're not struggling for breath. They're loud enough. You might also notice sudden death, and this is the scariest symptom of all. Sometimes with very little warning. Your ducks are dropping dead. What's going on? If the bird dies and you perform or request a necropsy, there are some things that vets can look for. So it's a good idea, if you have the resources, to run a necropsy if a duck dies unexpectedly. They might look for internal hemorrhaging at the heart, usually around the heart muscle, or look for some hemorrhaging around the abdominal fat. I'm really not sure where we're going. That way. But yeah, you might want to look for hemorrhaging around the heart muscle or the abdominal fat. And a normally large copper-colored liver, so it won't look normal. If you've done necropsies before, you'll know what a normal liver should look like. And this won't look normal. It'll look kind of copper-colored and weird. And you also might notice an enlarged spleen. These internal clues can help confirm that it is really going on, that it's fowl cholera. But ideally, you identify it and can start worrying about it before it gets to that point, because nobody wants to lose birds. Now, avian cholera thrives under very certain conditions: unsanitary housing, dirty or stagnant water, and overcrowded pens. These all make it easier for the bacteria to spread. Ducks love water, but that also means water management is crucial. Okay, you have to manage the water appropriately. A murky pond or a slimy kiddie pool that isn't cleaned regularly can turn into a breeding ground for bacteria. So take care of that. Now, rodents also play a role. Mice and rats can carry and spread bacteria. That's why rodent control is an important part of prevention. And here's another key piece. Once a bird dies of cholera, its body can harbor bacteria that are dangerous for the rest of the flock. If those carcasses aren't removed promptly and disposed of properly, they become a continuing source of infection. So you need to get rid of them. So let's talk about what you can do to lower the risk, because once it sets in, it is very difficult to treat. It's very difficult to get rid of. You kind of have to just wait it out a lot of the times. And there are things you can do to mitigate the risk, though. So keep things clean. Regularly change your water sources, scrub your buckets, avoid stagnant pools wherever possible. Stagnant water is your primary culprit here. Also control the rodents. They do spread it. So seal your feed bins, remove spilled grain and traps, use your traps, get cats, whatever. Keep your rodent population under control. We have a bajillion cats for a reason. Okay? That's why we have a bajillion cats. So yes, cats, they help. And you want to, as we talked about a minute ago, dispose of carcasses properly. If you lose a bird suddenly, don't just leave it laying in the pen. Removal and safe disposal. So bury it, burn it, do something to get rid of that body so the other birds are not hanging out with that carcass, catching whatever it had. Also avoid overcrowding. Give your ducks plenty of space so that disease doesn't spread as easily from bird to bird. That's why I'm a proponent of free ranging for people who can pull it off. Not everyone can do it. I know that not everyone can manage free ranging. Your local laws might prevent it, predator problems, there's many, many reasons why you can't free range. But it does reduce the transmission of disease because the birds are not locked inside all day together. Now, some areas, depending on where you live, might have vaccines against fowl cholera. If it's really common in your area, so if it's a really common illness and it's become a commercial problem, like getting into the commercial barns, then you actually might have a vaccine available. That's something you'll have to discuss with a veterinarian who treats poultry. Not everyone has access, but if you do have the opportunity to get the vaccine and it is a big issue in your area, you might want to consider it. The vaccine is highly effective for fowl cholera. It's not widely available. Typically, it's only in areas with large-scale outbreaks that are affecting commercial producers. Yeah, I know. It's always the commercial producers who get the attention. It's because they're, providing the food. They're doing the food supply thing. So, if it's available in your area, it can be something to look into, but you're not going to find it in most areas. Most areas are simply not going to have the option. So, it's nice if you can get it. So, once it actually shows up in your flock, let's assume you weren't able to vaccinate because you don't have the vaccine available. Let's assume that it got into your flock. Now what do you do? Well, unfortunately, treatment is tough. Antibiotics can help save birds if caught early, but they aren't always effective in an outbreak situation where you have a large number of birds with it at a time. Often by the time you notice symptoms, it's already too late for a great many of your birds. Vodka's coming. Hello, my Vod. Hello. That's my vodka. His tail. That's vodka's tail. So, yes. Vodka. Anyway, the difficulty in treating it is one of the reasons why it is so important to prevent it as best you can. You don't want to wait until cholera is in your flock. By then, you're trying to limit losses instead of avoiding them. So, do everything you can to prevent things like fowl cholera, and it's just good animal husbandry. The things like keeping them clean and making sure they're not all in tight quarters, making sure they are able to get out away from each other, not locking them in tiny little battery cages, things like that. That can help you a lot. Okay, it can help you a lot. So those kind of things are just good animal husbandry anyway. So proper animal husbandry practices, there's a reason they're proper practices. It's because they reduce this transmission of disease. So yeah, if you can, do everything you can to prevent it, because once it sets in, it's difficult to treat. Okay? And if you're already dealing with this problem, I'm sorry, I wish I had better news. Try antibiotics. Talk to the vet. Try antibiotics if you can, but sometimes all you can do is let it run its course. Isolate birds who appear really ill and hope for the best. Avian cholera isn't a fun subject, I know, and it never has a good ending, but it's a necessary one. Keeping things clean, controlling your rodents, and paying close attention to the health of your ducks, all of that can do a lot to reduce your risk. But at the end of the day, once it sets in, it's not fun to deal with. But that is about it for me here today at Andersen Acres. Have you had to deal with a poultry illness in your flock? Have you had to deal with fowl cholera? Let me know down in the comments. Your experience could help someone else. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.